Well, Happy New Year, everybody. It is 2024, and I think I'm going to throw up. No, I'm just kidding. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome to the inaugural session of Chatting, excuse me, I can't even keep my show straight, Front Porch Brunch, where we gather together as friendly folk, as we always do, trying to figure out what the heck is going on in this world, talking about it, giving our opinions, and saying, this is what I think, in a nice, friendly manner. Anyway, my name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. We are on YouTube. We are on Rumble. We are on Twitter. And we're going to let everybody start settling in. And it looks like people are jumping in already. Glad to have you. If you haven't done it yet, do me a favor. Send out a tweet. Send out a comment on Getter. Send out a Truth Social. Send out a Gab. Wherever you are on social media. And tell your friends, get the heck in here. Because it's a very interesting day. Well, it's always an interesting day. Anytime people get together to talk about what they think. So, and these are very interesting times. And yeah, 2024, it's going to be a wild ride. So, we're glad to have you. Glad to see you're all here. Going to give people a few minutes to settle into the room. Let's see who all is in here at this point. Yes. Hello, my gypsy. Good to see you, my dear. And then we got Z Highness. Yeah, the January 6th. Hadn't planned it that way, but yeah, there you go. We got Robert Lowry. He's jumping in. Glad to have you, sir. And there'll be a host of others who stop by. We've got folks out there on Rumble. You lurky rumblers, we know you're hanging out with us. Glad to have you. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting year. Good to see everybody. I hope everyone had a great Christmas. I hope everyone had a fantastic New Year. My New Year was kind of a bummer, all things considered, but we'll get to that momentarily. And, we're glad to see everybody here. Glad to see everyone. It's always a good time. Glad to have you here. It is going to be an absolutely wild 2024. So, yeah, going to be a good time. Going to be a good time. So, and good morning, WWG1, WGA, Trump 1. Glad to see you. And please give my regards to Dr. McCutcheon when next you speak with her. As I do not know your identity, but I have a strong suspicion of who you are in relation to the good doctor. But at any rate, so how was Christmas and New Year's for you guys? Just curious. I mean, drop some comments in chat. Always interested to talk about. God. I love this audience. I swear I do. You guys are awesome. Oh, goodness me. Goodness. That's all right. You take your time, Gypsy. It's all good. We love you, darling. Glad you're out there. So like I say, send out a tweet, send out a Getter, send out a Gab, send out a Truth Social, wherever you be on social media. Tell your friends, your frenemies, your family members, whoever it may be, get your butt in here. There's going to be stuff talked about. So always good to have y'all. And it's like I say, so tell me, how was the holidays for you guys? Christmas for me was great. New Year's was a bit of a bummer. I must confess. I posted a picture of myself on Twitter, which was widely commented upon, which I'm very thankful for. It's always nice to receive nice comments. But New Year's was a bummer, to be frank. But we'll get into that some other time. But yeah, Christmas was fantastic, and always glad to have y'all here. Always glad. So yeah, if you've got stories from your holidays, drop them in chat. Love to hear what's going on with you all. And it's finally here. I said it in a video earlier this week that we are now in 2024, a year that for some people are very excited about, which I am personally. I'm excited personally. I'm excited for the sake of this channel. I'm excited for a lot of different reasons. I am also dreading 2024 because of everything that has the potential to happen. And we'll get into some of that a little bit later. But yeah, I mean, I'm dying to hear how it was for you guys. And, always, always glad to hear from you what's going on in your lives as well. So, by way of some housekeeping items, go ahead and get some of that started for this year. Um, I have at various points last year run up against a clock. I usually try to, or have always up to now, tried to keep Front Porch Brunch to about 2 hours because my theory is you've got a life, I've got a life. We've all got things that we are all trying to do on the weekend, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. However, there have been those occasions when I have felt pressured, like, oh my gosh, I've got to get all this in. I've only got, X amount of time left. So I've made an executive decision that Front Porch Brunch is going to have, for lack of a better term, a flexible third hour. I'm not going to commit per se. Good morning, Miss Leanne. Glad to have you here. I'm not per se saying that we're going to go 3 full hours every Saturday that we're here. The way I'm envisioning this is that 2 hours is probably going to happen, absent that I'm not got stuff to talk about, which is going to be a little bit shocking if I don't. But there is the possibility of what I call a flexible third hour. In other words, if I've got stuff that's going to run over, okay, we're going into hour number 3, and with the understanding that I don't really want to go past 3 hours, unless there is an extraordinary circumstance that just happens to coincide with this show. For example, if it happens to be a Saturday and there is a event going on and we could live stream it from here, much like we did the Texas trial of Ken Paxton last fall, then yeah, we'll do something like that. We'll go into the third hour. We may go over 3 hours. So we'll see about all that. But yes, we are going to have a flexible third hour added to the show because there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff. And given the current date that we find ourselves, this is going to be interesting. So we'll have some thoughts on that as well. And hello, Welsh. Good to see you, sir. Always glad to have you here. The unofficial international correspondent for the Electronic Front Porch. Glad to have you here, sir. And by the way, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Check out Welsh Republic Podcast. This cat does some of the best interviews you're ever going to see. It is, this guy, give him a sub. Seriously, give this guy a sub. Welsh Republic Podcast is a fantastic interviewer. So give him a sub. He's a really good dude. Really, really good dude. And yes, good morning, Corey. Glad to have you here. And my New Year's was good, although a bit deflating. But we'll touch on that story at some point down the line. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So much to get into. So yeah, my holidays were great. Had a lot of fun. It's now the new year, and plans are being made all over the place. Which, by the way, since I've got everybody here and up front, I'm going to do a quick commercial for something that's coming up Tuesday night. Let me put this up on the screen. Give me just 1 second here. With political events coming up this year, particularly in January, I'm trying to line up guests for interviews that, I think it'll be good information for everybody. So if you're not doing anything this Tuesday night around 7:30, please join me because I'm going to be interviewing Professor Timothy Hagel. He's from the University of Iowa, and we're going to be discussing the Iowa caucus. And I'm going to do my best, without being wretchedly boring, to break down the Iowa caucus right down to its nuts and bolts. What is it? How does it work? Why is it as famous as it is? What's the process involved? There's going to be all kinds of questions I want to ask. We're going to keep this interview to about 45 to 50 minutes for logistical reasons on behalf of Professor Hagel. But yeah, if you're not doing anything this Tuesday night, please stop by. We're going to have Dr. Hagel. He prefers to go by Professor, so I'm going to try and get used to that term. Professor Hagel on this Tuesday night. Now, there is one other commercial that I will do right now, and I do it because I love this lady so much, okay? We also have another session of Chatting on the Porch next week, and this one is going to be a load of fun because I've been dying to get this person on the channel, and anything y'all can do to spread the word about Tuesday night and this Thursday night, I'd appreciate. But this is one that she and I work two different sides of the street. Every so often, our paths cross on an issue or issues. And as far as I'm concerned, she is one of the dearest people on all of social media. And if you're not following her, you need to. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have the pleasure of talking with Carrie Smith from the Deprogram channel this Thursday night, 7:30 Eastern. So, yeah, I mean, the cats and the hats are finally getting together. And it's, when I say finally, I'll also mention this next Thursday night. She and I have been talking around this conversation for the longest time now. It's not her fault or my fault. I'm not mad at her. I'm not mad at me. It's just, she's got a channel. I've got a channel. Things have got to orbit just the right way. And finally, it just got down to, Brian, give me a date sometime in January and I'll come on the channel. Like, all right, here you go. Here's what we're doing. She's like, okay, I'll see you. And that's how it went. So, and as Robert has, yes, you've heard of hate speech. Well, no, Carrie Smith is all about hat speech. And I think if you do me the courtesy of coming on this Thursday night at 7:30, I think you're going to see why I absolutely love this lady. I mean, there's any number of positive adjectives that you can use to describe Carrie Smith, and every last one of them would apply. And now she'd be much more humble about it than I would, but she is a doll as far as I'm concerned. And I'm just dying to get into a conversation with her about so many different things. And to the best of my ability, I'm going to do my best to keep it off of politics. I want to talk culture. Because, and I mean this with genuine sincerity, Carrie Smith is probably on the leading edge when it comes to talking about and identifying issues that are going on culturally here in our country that, for good or bad, have an impact. And she's always talking about them. And I love her for it. So, Tuesday night, 7:30 is Professor Tim Hagel from the University of Iowa. Thursday night is going to be Carrie Smith from the Deprogram channel. And, yeah, one more thing. Going back to politics. I'm going to have a live stream this Wednesday night covering Trump's interview with Bret Baier of Fox News. Time to be determined. So just throw that one out there for what it's worth. So, yeah, it's going to be, for me, a busy, busy year for live streams. I've got plans to do all kinds of stuff. So, hang on, folks. It's going to be a wild, wild ride. So, oh gosh, what shall we get into first? Well, let's talk about probably the biggest news in the last 24 hours, and that is this. Supreme Court agrees to take up Trump's appeal of the Colorado ballot removal. I'm not going to bother going through the article because the headline is self-explanatory, but I will pull up the Supreme Court's order that they've issued, because I think this is fairly interesting. Especially if you want to understand the process by which things get done at the Supreme Court, and normally it will never go this fast, but given the issues involved and given what is at stake, the court realizes the urgency of ruling on this thing. So let me pull this up. I'm going to try and wear these more often on Saturdays when I do this, so forgive me in advance. Issued Friday, January 5, 2024, certiorari granted. Trump, Donald J. versus Anderson Norma et al. This petition for a writ of certiorari is granted. The case is set for oral arguments on Thursday, February the 8th, 2024, which, by the way, I gotta see something here real quick. Hang on. Got it. Oops, sorry. Didn't mean for you to see that. Here's what I'm looking for. All right, here we go. That is exactly let's see. 1, 2, 3. Am I reading that right? Oh, it's Thursday the 8th. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks and about, call it 5 days. 4 weeks and 5 days from now, petitioners brief on the merits, and this is from the Trump side, and any amicus curiae briefs, which is Latin for friend of the court, in support of neither party, are to be filed on or before Thursday, January 18th. The respondent, in this case those representing Norma Anderson, respondents' briefs on the merits and any amicus curiae briefs in support are to be filed on or before Wednesday, January 31st. The reply brief, if any, is to be filed on or before 5 p.m. Monday, February 5th, 2024. So here we go. It's game on. And, I mean, I'm not going to hash over the sides of the case, because God knows we've all been talking about this for weeks and months on end. Oh, yeah, they absolutely fast-tracked it. WWG, they absolutely fast-tracked this thing, and understandably so. There's too much at stake for this question not to be answered. Because you got lawsuits being filed in states all over the country, and this question's got to get settled. I almost wish that I had the day off on February the 8th. But, oh, but by the way, if you want to listen in on this, the Supreme Court does not allow cameras in the courtroom. They're one of the last institutions in Washington that don't allow that. They do, however, allow you to listen to tapes. Now, whether that's live or whether that's after the fact, I don't quite remember, to be perfectly honest. But if you're wanting to listen to the oral arguments that take place on February the 8th, there will be tapes made available, more than likely after the arguments are over. You might be able to listen live. I'm not sure. Like I say, my memory's a little foggy on this point. But yeah, if you got some time on February the 8th and you want to listen to, what the lawyers argue, here's your chance. I recommend it to you. Like I said, I wish I had the day off, because I'll probably wind up listening to the tapes after I get home from work that night. But I'll tell you what, this is going to be fascinating. And it's not so much what the lawyers are going to argue, although I think those points are very salient. What I'm going to be listening for are the questions from the judges, or the justices, I should say. Because not that you can absolutely predict how they're going to rule based on their questions, but it gives you some idea of where their thinking is going. I mean, trying to divine what a Supreme Court justice is going to rule based on the question they ask is kind of like trying to read tea leaves. How advantageous it is for one side or the other is debatable, but at least you get some idea where their brain is at in all this. So, yeah, that's coming up February the 8th, and if I don't, like I say, I doubt that I'll be able to do it live, but I definitely would not mind doing something related to those oral arguments on February the 8th. So we'll see what happens. And Gypsy, you are absolutely right. You're welcome anytime you want, if your schedule allows it. And for the record, my weeknight and weekday activities for the next 5 or 6 months are going to be chock full. If I get to do or participate in or do live streams for everything that's on the calendar right now, my life is going to be absolutely insane. So, yeah, we got that going on. So, they do. Okay, they do live audio. All right, cool. Thank you very much. Oh, like I say, if I had the day off for that, I'd love to do a live stream, but I got to fit. Well, I might do a live stream sometime that night because that definitely ought to be listened to. We'll see what happens. But yeah, thank you for that, Ruben. Which, by the way, another commercial. Yeah, I'm just full of it today. Well, I'm full of it every day, but that's neither here nor there. Ruben has agreed, along with another fellow, Christian Watson, who we here on the Electronic Front Porch affectionately refer to as the Professor. The three of us are going to be doing a live stream on January 15th, which is the night of the Iowa caucus. We're going to be watching the results come in. We're going to be commenting. I've reached out to a couple other people just to see if they'd be interested or they want to come on. I'd love to have them there. Absolutely love to have them there. So yeah, mark your calendars. Time is still going to be determined, but we are doing a live stream on this channel Monday night, January 15th, watching the results of the Iowa caucus come in. And I will go ahead and let you know right now, we will be doing a live stream on Tuesday, the day after, just talking about the results. I don't know if I'm going to be doing it by myself. I mean, Ruben, I haven't talked to you about that one yet, but if you want in on it, dude, I'd love to have you. But yeah, we'll be doing a live stream on Tuesday the 16th, talking about the results, reacting to the commentary. Oh yeah. Hello, Brent. Glad to see you, brother. Yeah. We're going to be doing a live stream that night, the 15th. Also, to let you know, we will also be doing a live stream on this channel the night of the New Hampshire primary. And I'm trying to line up somebody. I'm trying to line up somebody from up in New Hampshire. I'd like to talk to a reporter. Now, keep in mind, my definition of a reporter versus most people's is a little bit different because I want one of those old cigar chomping, grizzled, shoe leather type kind of guys or ladies that have been around the New Hampshire primary a while and they got a feel for what's going on the ground. So if you know of anybody that kind of fits that bill, okay, maybe a woman chomping on a cigar is probably not a good thing, but you get my point, okay? But I'm trying to find somebody prior to the New Hampshire primary that I could do an interview with and give people a feel for what's going on the ground up in the Granite State. So, but yeah, we got all kinds of stuff coming up in the month of January. February is going to be the same way. March is going to be the same way. It's going to be nuts all the way from here to the conventions. And yes, my plan at this point is to cover the DNC and the RNC in July and August. So, keep your eyes open. We're going to be doing all kinds of stuff on this channel this year. It's going to be nuts, just absolutely nuts. Okay. All right, I think I've got most, if not all, of my commercials out of the way for right now. We'll revisit some of those. At the end of the program. So, I'm going to switch up the order that I intended to talk about things because now the more I think about it, some stuff just does not apply. Or, well, it applies, but not that relevantly. Let me put it like that. Relevantly. Is that a word? I don't know. Anyway, so let me start off with this, and I'll kind of feed into something else here. Did anybody out there happen to see President Biden's speech at Valley Forge yesterday? If you did, give me an F in the chat. I've got Miami aliens host. All right. We'll get into that conversation later. Oh, man. So anyway, did anybody out there happen to see the president's speech yesterday at Valley Forge. Ha ha ha! No one watched it. Well, you may be right. You may be right, but I did for my part. And before I get into the comments about that, I want to tee up something that I had pulled up. And Biden has already released his first campaign ad. And I've got some comments about this, and it's going to feed into another subject, which is very relevant given the date on the calendar. Okay? So I want to play this ad. Give me 1 second here because I got to make an adjustment to the settings so you guys don't get echoed right out of the room. Give me one moment here. Okay, that ought to fix the problem. But you don't get to hear my melodious voice in stereo. But we'll fix that shortly. Yeah, I'm really feeling good today, folks. That's all I'm saying. All right. This ad runs about 1 minute. I'm going to play it in its entirety. And then we're going to start talking about Biden's speech at Valley Forge. So settle back in, and here we go. Okay. Well, there it is. There it is. And oh, there's no audio? Oh, wait a minute. I know what's wrong. Hang on a minute. Sorry about that, folks. Give me 1 second here. I apologize for that, and I will fix that problem right now. I am sorry. I forgot to hit one button. And I think Ruben has a pretty good take on this. Give me 1 second here. Hang on. It's better with it. Well, I'm not saying, but okay. All right. Sorry about that. We've got the first boomer out of the way for 2024. Yeah, this show is so professional. I tell you what. Just so professional. I tell you. Okay, let's try this again. Give me 1 second here. Okay. All right. Hey, boys in the band, cue it up in 3, 2, 1.
I've made the preservation of American democracy the central issue of my presidency. I believe in free and fair elections and the right to vote fairly and have your vote counted. There's something dangerous happening in America. There's an extremist movement that does not share the basic beliefs in our democracy. All of us are being asked right now, what will we do to maintain our democracy? History's watching. The world is watching. And most important, our children and grandchildren will hold us responsible. The Vice President and I have supported voting rights since day one of this administration, and I ask every American to join me in this cause. America is still a place of possibilities where the power resides with we, the people. That's our soul. We are the United States of America. There is nothing beyond our capacity when we act together. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Okay. Hang on. Okay, that's the ad. So, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this? Now, matter of fact, let me do it this way. Let me ask you guys this. You heard it with sound. I'll give you this, Ruben. You're absolutely consistent. Absolutely consistent. And Gypsy, I saw that comment over in Rumble. You just hold on, darling. We're going to get to that. You absolutely. We're going to get to that. Did the sound not come through on Rumble? Really? Oh my gosh. Crazy. All right, you heard it with sound, hopefully. You saw it without sound. What are your thoughts? This is the very first campaign ad that Biden's running. What do you think? Ruben says deep state propaganda. Well, maybe. Oh, okay. All right. Rumble did hear it. All right. Sorry about that. God, you all are spicy this morning. I'll tell you what. The great divider in chief. Anything about that? Woo! Woo! Boy. Oh my gosh. Now WWG1, I'm going to read his comment. His thoughts about the ad: Trump sucks, la 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 la, that's all I heard, plus his supporters suck. It's that last sentence we're going to get into here in just a minute. So, I said it in 2023, and y'all are starting out 2024 proving it. You are the smartest audience on social media. I love you guys. Absolutely love you. So, yeah, that's the first campaign ad. So that leads to the speech at Valley Forge. Now, I don't have necessarily any clips of it pulled up. Yeah, I can agree with that too. I can absolutely agree with that. Typical political ad, be nebulous and claim to be the answer. Yep. I can't disagree with that. And Republicans and Donald Trump are just as guilty of the same things you just mentioned. Be perfectly honest. So that's the ad, and that leads to the speech. Now, like I said, I do not have any clips of Biden's speech pulled up. I think making you suffer through the ad was enough. And oh, suffer you did. But I will read some things from it. Give me 1 second here. Here we go. This is from the Post Millennial. By the way, fabulous website. If you're not checking them out online, you need to. They are really, really good. This is from the Post Millennial. Breaking: Biden targets President Trump, MAGA extremists in unhinged, angry Valley Forge speech. Before leaving the stage, Biden yelled out, "I understand power." Oh, okay. Then put some batteries in your brain. Oh, I'm sorry. By Hannah Nightingale, we read the following. Joe Biden took aim at 2024 GOP frontrunner and former President Donald Trump during a speech marking the anniversary of January 6, 2021, on Friday at Valley Forge, saying that Trump doesn't understand the most fundamental truth about this country. Quote, "All-out war is what Trump wants. That's why he doesn't understand the most fundamental truth about this country. Unlike other nations on earth, America is not built on ethnicity, religion, geography. We're the only nation in the history of the world built on an idea." Reading a little further into the article. Biden said that Trump is, quote, "echoing the exact same language used in Nazi Germany." He probably posted on social media the words that best describe his 2024 campaign: revenge, power, and dictatorship. Quote, "There's no confusion about who Trump is and what he intends to do." A little further into the article. Quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal. It's an idea declared in the declaration, Biden said, adding that, quote, we've never fully lived up to that. Ooh. We have a long way to go. Debatable. But we've never walked away from that idea. I will not let Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans force us to walk away now. Biden called Trump the election denier-in-chief, calling January 6th an insurrection. Quote, the election deniers were defeated in the 2022 midterm election, Biden said, adding that, quote, Trump is running as the election denier-in-chief in 2024. Not even a president is above the law. Oh, now that line coming from him, we'll get to that. I'm sorry. Shut up, Brian. Biden said, quote, Trump began his 2024 campaign by glorifying the failed violent insurrection on our Capitol. The guy who claims law and order sows lawlessness and disorder. Trump's not concerned about your future, I promise you. Trump is now promising a full-scale campaign of revenge and retribution. His words, for some years to come. They were his words, not mine. And before leaving the stage, Biden yelled out, I understand power. Oh, let's get into all this. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And by the way, I love your other comment. It's like, who writes this tripe? Well, you got to consider who they're writing the speech for. It kind of has limited capability here, Brent. Yeah, just saying. All right, let's talk about this. This comment that I'm about to give next is not original to me, and I've got to give the gentleman who did full credit. There's a gentleman living in Europe, Stixenhammer. I believe it's Brent. Am I saying his name correctly? Stixenhammer. I believe he's over in it's Norway or Finland or one of those, Denmark, one of those countries. And he made he's a great observer of American politics. He said, does anyone notice the extreme irony of Biden giving a speech at Valley Forge talking about insurrectionists, and that's exactly what the Patriots of 1776 were called by the British government? I thought, dang, that's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But he's absolutely right. Biden goes to Valley Forge, which was the encampment of the American Army for about 4 months in the winter of 1776 or 77, one of the two, suffered horrendous conditions. And he's giving a speech about insurrection at a very place where insurrectionists were hanging out. And if it weren't for those insurrectionists, we wouldn't have the United States of America today. The irony is not lost on me or probably most of y'all. So there's the first observation that I make. I have a question, which leads to my second observation. Did anybody notice in that speech what is not there? Let me say that again. I'll try and phrase that differently or phrase it better, so I apologize. But did anybody notice what that speech was not full of? Now, keep in mind, this is the first campaign speech for his re-election bid in 2024. No, not an American flag, but you're getting warm. WWG1, you're getting warm. Bingo, bingo, bingo. There it is, right there. No accomplishments. None. Not a single solitary thing. Positive plans. Yeah, positive plans or mentions of the plans for you. Absolutely. You got it. You got it. You guys are stone cold on it. You've got it. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't care if you're Joe Biden. I don't care if you're Barack Obama, George W. Bush, George Herbert, any president running for re-election. Okay? There are two things above all else you have got to convey to the American people. What I've done and what I'm going to do. And inside of those two things are a lot of touting of your accomplishments. What have you accomplished? What have you done? What have you done to make the country better? And then what are you going to do that's positive, uplifting, etc., to make the country better if you are given a second term, of which you're asking the American people for their vote? There was none of that in this speech. Now, I can already hear the pro-Biden crowd out there right now, okay, as they put down the soy lattes and perk up listening to my conversation. And y'all know you're out there. You know you listen to this live stream on a regular basis. Y'all just don't want to admit it. I can already hear the pro-Biden crowd. Well, it was his first speech of the campaign, and he's going to talk about his accomplishments. And he's going to talk about the things he's done for the economy, and he's going to talk about all that, man. Well, man, why didn't he do that in the first speech? I mean, look, I am no communications expert, okay? It's not like I got a BS degree behind me saying this man knows how to communicate. But I do understand this. The first speech of a political campaign sets the tone for what you're going to talk about for the remainder of the time that you're running this race. And it's quite obvious to me where Joe Biden's going, okay? And his strategy for re-election, and I'm going to wait a little bit before I totally get zeroed in on this idea, but I think I know what his strategy for re-election is, and I will tell you after my sip. Cheers, by the way. Biden's strategy for re-election is the same thing that Barack Obama did in 2012. And it goes something like this. Hey, vote for me because I'm not nearly as bad as the other schmuck. Now you're sitting there going, huh? Yeah, if you think back to 2012, and you think about the totality of that campaign between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, and don't get me wrong, I am no lover of Mitt Romney. I wasn't in love with him back then politically either, but Romney was like, all right, you're a schmuck. Obama's a bigger schmuck. You're the schmuck that's less of a schmuck than this guy is. Okay, I'll be honest. But that was Obama's basic strategy. He spent the early parts of 2012 just beating the crap out of Mitt Romney politically. He said he shipped jobs overseas. He was a destroyer of companies. He cost people their jobs. He was, chopping up pension funds. He was boiling puppies. I mean, name the negative invective or pejorative that you would launch on some other candidate. That's what Barack Obama was doing to Mitt Romney. Okay? And it worked. But it came at a price. In that Barack Obama may be the only president that I know of in American history who got fewer votes for re-election than he did when he first ran. And if I'm wrong on that, somebody correct me. I mean, I did not. Well, let me take a quick look here. Hang on. Let me see if I can find this real fast. 2008 and election totals. Give me 1 second here. All right, there's 2012. Yeah, hang on a minute. I'm almost sure I'm right about this. Yeah, here we go. In 2008, Barack Obama got 69 million votes against John McCain. In 2012, he got 65 million, 4 million votes less. I can almost guarantee you that Biden's strategy against Trump is vote for me because I'm not nearly as bad as the other schmuck. That's exactly where he's going here. He's setting the tone with this speech at Valley Forge. Everybody is going to hear for the next 10 months insurrectionist, election denier, cheater in chief, every negative pejorative that Joe Biden can hurl at Donald Trump. But you'll never hear Biden, or he'll do it very rarely. You'll never hear Joe Biden commenting about his accomplishments, the things that he's done to make life better for the American people. And going over to Rumble, WWG1 says, how much we love paying $15 for a dozen eggs. Gotta love Bidenomics. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Gypsy. My apologies. Gypsy, you are absolutely right. He can't talk about inflation because he's done little to nothing to get that under control. And everybody knows that every time they go to the gas pump or every time they go to the grocery store. Yeah. Except in reverse. I'll agree with that. Except in reverse. This time it's the argument that Biden's going to make about Trump. In 2020, Trump got to make it about Biden. I'll agree with that. So yeah, this is where we're headed. Now, there's one other thing that bugged me among so many things about that speech at Valley Forge. And maybe this is just me. Maybe this is just me not hearing it correctly or not understanding properly the proper application of the English language. But did you guys notice in Biden's speech, he kept saying, we have to protect our democracy. O-U-R. Okay? Now, if it were anybody else and they used that expression, our democracy, I might not even give it a second thought. Seriously, I probably wouldn't. Because he's referring to all Americans. And I'm not necessarily saying this was going through Joe Biden's mind or the mind of the speechwriters when they used that expression, but I've got a problem with it. And it's this. Our democracy. We've got to protect our democracy. Well, what about the 75 million people who voted for Donald Trump in 2020? Don't they have their democracy too? I mean, if it's supposed to be all of democracy for all of us, not just the people that voted for you, Joe Biden. And that's how, and to me, exactly. Exactly. You're saying it better than I ever can, Brent. Our democracy does not include us, or at least that's and like I say, if I'm wrong, fine, I'm wrong. But I kept hearing that, and I kept thinking, well, and again, we can sit and argue about, what kind of government is America? Well, it's a representative republic. But you get you understand where I'm going with this. Whatever this system of government is that we are about to vote on in 2024, it's for all Americans. Okay? It's for all of us, including the people who did not vote for Joe Biden in 2020. We have to protect our democracy. Do you mean democracy for all Americans, or do you mean the system of government that you happen to be running right now? And to me, that expression and the way he did it just felt so. I mean, the whole speech was divisive. The whole speech was divisive on the whole. The whole speech was just chock full of stuff that you're just sitting there shaking your head going, you sack of crap. You complete full pant load. To borrow a line from the great Don Imus, you are a full pant load. But it's like really? This is for all of us, not just for you and people who voted for you. And yeah, I probably am being too kind about it. I probably am. And it's not necessarily my intention to be that kind about it, but just that's how I'm phrasing it right now. And I'm not taking it as criticism, so don't misunderstand me. But it's like, God bless it. You're standing there on the one hand saying, I'm the president for everybody, even if you didn't vote for me. And on the other hand, you're saying our democracy. Well, does that mean that if people didn't vote for you in 2020, they don't believe in democracy or they're not part of your idea of democracy? What are they? Over on Rumble, Gypsy says it is the elite's democracy and they say it on purpose. You know what? You're maybe absolutely right. All of you are. I mean, yeah, maybe Robert's right. I am being too kind about it. Their idea of democracy, or maybe it's better to say their system, their structure of how the world is to be. There is a lot, and I'm going to segue here for a second, riff. So give me a second here. I got to riff. There is a lot at stake in the 2024 election. I mean, but one of the things that I think that is on the line with this election, maybe more so than any other that we've had in recent years, and that is, what kind of a government are we? Now, people out there are going to say, well, we're a constitutional republic. Yeah. Have we been acting like one lately? And by that I mean this, and I think a lot of the people watching this live stream right now, and maybe people who watch it later on after we close shop for the day, are going to ask the question, are going to say, well, yeah, we agree with you. We have not been acting like a constitutional republic. Yeah. But I think it's sort of reaching the point that a lot of Americans are waking up to the fact that there's something decidedly wrong with the way our government is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people is operating. Now, the degree to which they're waking up, okay, we can have that discussion, whatever. We can have that debate. But there is an awakening that's taking place. And I think to some degree, this vote that happens in November is going to speak to what it is the American people want. Because in one sense, one thing that Joe Biden said in that speech is absolutely true. Trump is promising a revenge and vengeance tour. Yeah. Okay. Taking it slightly out of context. But Trump has already said, if I come back in, there are whole sections of the government that need to be reformed, thinned out, etc., and so on. Joe Biden will never do that. Now, is Trump actually going to do it if he gets back in? I have no idea. But that's what he says he wants to do. So yeah, there's a lot at stake in the 2024 election. One of them is, what kind of government are we actually going to be going forward? Are we going to be a government where the system protects the imperial capital of Washington, D.C., and all of its bureaus and all of its agencies and government employees? Are we going to continue to grow the size, the scope, and the power of the government to the detriment of the freedom and liberty of the American people? Or are we going to finally start trying to rein this thing in? Are we going to try and hopefully take down some or large parts of the deep state? Are we going to choke off Leviathan? In other words, what keeps a government like ours going? Money. In other words, are we going to defund some of these agencies? These are questions that are going to get settled in this election. But Joe Biden has already established the tone for what he wants to do, and that is MAGA, MAGA bad, MAGA extremist, etc., and so on. Our federal government is a parasitic cancer upon our people and our country, says TBA 369. First of all, TBA, welcome over there on the Rumble side. We're glad to have you. I think if this is the first time you've been here in chat, first of all, if it is, glad to have you. And second of all, thanks for hanging out with us this Saturday morning. And drop a comment in chat. Let me know, because I don't remember off the top of my head seeing your screen name before. But if you're here for the first time, glad to have you. And Brentley brings up a really good point. We lost our constitutional republic status. Yeah. Oh, okay. Late TBA says was late today, had to work out. Oh, by the by. Side note. What are your guys' New Year's resolutions? Anybody got a fitness goal or a weight loss goal or a I'm going to make my bed every day goal? What do you guys got for New Year's resolutions? I'm just curious, on a slightly lighter note. I saw that comment about working out, and I was like, yeah, cool. After what I ate last night, I definitely need to work out. But, yeah, the speech at Valley Forge was really interesting. Now, a couple other things I'll bring up about, and then I'll get off this subject. Brent says, I'm going to be shredded by March. You go, boy. You go. Good for you. Good on you. I will be eating shredded lettuce and shredded wheat, but that's a whole other discussion. There was one comment that I found. Let me see if I can find it here. There was an article written by Kareem Hassan at the nationalpulse.com, and I'll pull this up real quick. I want to go to the last paragraphs. Get used to this from Joe Biden. This is the real Joe Biden, a habitual liar, a con man par excellence, and a wannabe bully who drops lines such as today's, I'm glad you can't see the Irish in me, as if he's a hard man. But he's not a hard man, and everyone around him knows it. Only the weak and the frail need to assail their political enemies with the weaponization of government, with corporate media cover, and by reciting a tissue of lies at every opportunity. In the lead-up to Friday's speech, a CNN commentator noted that nothing policy-wise matters at this election because, quote, our democracy is at stake. By that measure, the border doesn't matter, the economy doesn't matter, America's standing in the world doesn't matter, and anyone who thinks otherwise is a threat to, quote, our democracy. Expect this to be the core theme of Biden's campaign. After all, he can scarcely run on his record, can he? With all that in mind, be prepared for an assault on the truth that would make Frank Abagnale Jr.'s head spin. Joe Biden has lied his whole life for this moment. The next 11 months are where he intends for that to pay off. It's a pretty good article. It's at thenationalpulse.com. It's written by, gentleman's name again here. Yeah, Raheem Kassam. Great writer, by the way. Now, here's a man who's being very positive about 2024. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am here for all of that. I am here for all of it. Absolutely. So, wow. We have already burned through a whole hour of this show. My goodness. My name is Brian Tripp, and I am the Front Porch Conservative. We are on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter. This is Front Porch Brunch, our weekly gathering where we get together to discuss the news. If you feel like dropping a Rumble rant or a super chat, well, if I hear coin clinking in the cup, it will not hurt my feelings in the slightest, but please do so responsibly. I don't want anybody doing anything that puts them in a bad way. But then again, as I say, hearing coin clinking in the cup is not going to bug me. So you have the opportunity for super chats, Rumble rants, etc. Drop them in. Not going to bother me at all. Which, by the way, we've got 12 people here on Rumble. We got 12 people on YouTube. 6 people are on Rumble. Would you do me a favor, if you would? My channel on YouTube is sitting at about 606 subscribers. And I got about 151 over on Rumble. If you would, please spread the word around. I know you can't make people do this, but please spread the word around. I've got an internal goal that I would love to get to 1,000 subscribers by the anniversary date of this channel, which is March the 3rd. That's basically 394 subscribers between now and March 3rd. So if you would, share out links, tell your friends, hey, give the guy a sub, help a guy out. He's just trying to grow this little channel and make it something good. So, and for everything you guys do, bless your hearts. You guys are awesome, and I mean that in all sincerity. So yeah. Spread the word. Let's see if we can get this thing to 1,000 subs by March the 3rd. That would be absolutely fantastic. All right, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about one of the other stories that came out this week and see what you guys think about this. And this is one of those stories that when it came out, I didn't quite, I had one of those very rare reactions in that I went, meh, so what? And that is, and now WWG1, you're probably going to have, bless your heart can take on multiple meanings, and TBA says, yeah, but I think trip up means it in the nicest way. That is absolutely, I mean that in the nicest way. I give you a bless your heart in the best way possible, y'all, but y'all are absolutely right. What did you guys think about this story when it broke? Harvard President Claudine Gay resigned, shortest tenure in university history. Now, for those of you that don't know what's going on, Claudine Gay was appointed by the Harvard Corporation, which is their board of governors, president of Harvard University back during the summer of 2023. And she is a scholar with degrees from Stanford, got her PhD at Harvard, and came into the office with high hopes, etc. Okay, cool. Fantastic. Well, two things happened in short order of each other. Oh, Joe, I just saw your comment. Hang on, we're coming to that. We are coming to that. Two things happened in short order of each other, in almost bam succession, that when they did, it sort of spelled the beginning of the end for her. One of them, the first one, was her testimony before Congress regarding anti-Semitism on Harvard's campus. And I want to play part of that exchange between her and Elise Stefanik, who's a representative from New York State, and get your guys' take on this. Okay, so let me do a couple of adjustments to my settings here, and we'll make this thing happen. So give me one moment. Do 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 do. You see, you didn't know you'd get music on this channel, did you? Okay. So Stefanik is questioning Dr. Claudine Gay, president of Harvard. And what happens next is now pretty well famous, but I want to let you guys hear this. And I wouldn't mind getting your comments on it either, because I got some thoughts about her, I've got some thoughts about Claudine Gay's response to this. So take a listen to this and tell me what you guys think.
President of Harvard, so I assume you're familiar with the term intifada, correct?
I've heard that term, yes.
And you understand that the use of the term intifada in the context of the Israeli-Arab conflict is indeed a call for violent armed resistance against the state of Israel, including violence against civilians and the genocide of Jews. Are you aware of that?
That type of hateful speech is personally abhorrent to me.
And there have been multiple marches at Harvard with students chanting, quote, "There is only one solution, intifada revolution," and, quote, "globalize the intifada." Is that correct?
I've heard that thoughtless, reckless, and hateful language on our campus, yes.
So based upon your testimony, you understand that this call for intifada is to commit genocide against the Jewish people in Israel and globally, correct?
I will say again, that type of hateful speech is personally abhorrent to me.
Do you believe that type of hateful speech is contrary to Harvard's code of conduct, or is it allowed at Harvard?
It is at odds with the values of Harvard.
Can you
But
not
our
say here that it is
values
against the
also-
code of conduct at Harvard?
We embrace a commitment to free expression.
What the? What? No. You are not doing that to me. Go away.
Expression, even of views that are objectionable, offensive, hateful. It's when that speech crosses into conduct that violates our policies against bullying, harassment,
Does that speech
and
not
intimidation.
cross that barrier? Does that speech not call for the genocide of Jews and the elimination of Israel?
When that
You
speech-
testify that you understand that is the definition of intifada. Is that speech according to the code of conduct or not?
We embrace a commitment to free expression and give a wide berth to free expression, even of views that are objectionable.
You and I
outrageous,
both know
and
that's not the
offensive.
case. You were aware that Harvard ranked dead.
Okay, I'm going to stop this right there. I'm going to say something that's probably going to get me in trouble, but then again, oh well, what else is new? In one sense, I don't know that Claudine Gay said anything wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. What she said was most certainly not received very well. But on the other hand, there is a difference between what you say and what you do. Now, to put a finer point on this, I will be fair here. I will be fair. This is from Harvard's documents about their definition of bullying. Okay. Let me pull this up real quick. Okay, here we go. Bullying, as used as a shorthand for hostile and abusive behavior or power-based harassment, is defined here as harmful interpersonal aggression by words or actions that humiliate, degrade, demean, intimidate, and or threaten an individual or individuals. Now, I think the threatening part, you could legitimately say, for a violation of this policy to occur, such aggression must be sufficiently pervasive, persistent, and or severe that a reasonable person would find that it creates an educational work or living environment in which a person is unreasonably excluded from participation in or denied the benefits of the university's educational or work programs or activities. Unless sufficiently pervasive, persistent, and or severe, a single act typically would not constitute bullying. A little further into this, bullying may include, but is not limited to, the following behaviors. Abusive expression directed at an individual or individuals, such as derogatory remarks, epithets, or ad hominem attacks that are outside the range of commonly accepted expressions of disagreement or disapproval or critique The policy encompasses abusive expression or ad hominem attacks that are verbal or nonverbal, spoken or written, recorded, visual, or digital. And then examples include malicious comments about a family's appearance, lifestyle, or culture. Okay, that might get close. But you see what I'm getting at here. And yeah, Ruben, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. She didn't write the testimony. And yeah, Joe, I agree with you here, is selective. I'll agree with that. But then again, did she really say anything that was wrong? Now, I think both of you guys are right, and I think the chat is right. Okay? I think you're absolutely right. It is selective how they define free speech. If a conservative were saying some of the thing, let me flip that over. Let me flip that over and do it this way. If a conservative were on Harvard's campus expressing their opinions, would Harvard go after them on the grounds that they're engaging in harassment and therefore violating the code of conduct of students? I think that's a very fair question. You know, so that's the first thing that ran Claudine Gay afoul of the powers that be at Harvard, was her performance in front of Elise Stefanik. Again, whether you agree with it, disagree with it, like it, don't like it, how that came across in these times was absolutely wretched by performance standards. And over on Rumble, TBA369 says, Harvard is dead last on the free speech front, but they should have let that kind of speech run to prove that they are a supporter of free speech. Okay, can't disagree with you on that one. Harvard should have indicted those students for bullying. Okay, can see that too. WWG says she didn't directly answer any of the questions posed to her. All right, that's there. Believe me, she lawyered up. Harvard had her lawyer up, trust me. And then finally, TBA says, if a group of Republicans had gone out shouting slurs about a selected group of people, they would have been expelled. Yes. On that, I agree. And I think Ruben's making my point better than I am, as usual. Our words are violence to leftists. Yeah. Yeah. There's a difference between what you say and what you do. Now, don't get me wrong, there's certain kinds of speech that are more than just being problematic. There is such a thing as incitement, but that's not what's going on here, I don't think. But see, you have that, and then you had the plagiarism. And boy, when people started digging into her record, this is where things really got bad. I mean, you had the Washington Free Beacon, and they were at the forefront on this thing, just absolutely roasting her alive about this. And so you had all that, and it kept building, and it kept building, and it kept building. And finally, the Harvard Corporation, which is their term for their board of governors, got a letter Monday morning where she turned in her resignation after they had conversations with her over the weekend. And I wasn't a fly on the wall for any of that, so I have no idea what was actually said. But I will say this: it wouldn't surprise me if the end result of it was lift corner of rug, sweep under rug, drop corner back down. We got to get rid of this problem. Now, they were probably a little more kind about it than I'm being right now, but that's basically the net effect of what the Harvard Corporation did. They swept something under the rug they had to get rid of. They had to get rid of this. And Corey, yeah, and now plagiarism is somehow a right-wing weapon. Now, let's get into the plagiarism aspect of this. Oh, no, WWG1 points out something I did not realize. Harvard is an actual corporation. Really? I did not know that. They're an actual corporation? Somewhere, I mean, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just trying to work out the logistics of this in my mind. Did they somehow incorporate at some point in the past, and they are an actual functioning corporations subject to all the rules of the federal government, the SEC, everything else. Wow. And Gypsy says, isn't everything a corporation today, even countries? You ain't wrong, sister. You ain't wrong about that. But let's talk about the plagiarism for a second. And this leads me to why I'm so meh about this. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. If you are going to be in academic leadership in an institution like Harvard or any university or college in this country, okay, there are any number of standards you ought to be held to. And one of them is that if you've earned a PhD and you've written scholarly works, that they should be your own. Now, I kind of agree with the authors of the articles from the Washington Free Beacon. Or actually, they quoted somebody on this. If somebody had found one instance where Claudine Gay had changed around a few words on something, okay, you could maybe chalk that up to, okay, she was writing, she was in a hurry, maybe she didn't take the time to properly cite where she got this idea from, etc. That you could forgive. Claudine Gay was lifting whole freaking paragraphs out of people's work and just no citation, no nothing. She's dropping it into her scholarly work, and you come away from the idea, oh, well, this is something she came up with on her own, and then you dig in later and you find out, nope. She stole it. And in one sense, that's what plagiarism is. You're stealing somebody else's work. You're stealing their ideas. You're stealing their scholarship, etc. So I have no problem with Claudine Gay being removed as the president of Harvard. She ought to go. Now, here's where my meh moment comes in. Check this out. This is from the New York Post. Claudine Gay set to keep her nearly $900,000 annual salary despite resigning as a university president. Aside from her losing her title of president of Harvard, what actual consequences has this woman actually suffered? Now, don't get me wrong, and I said this in my video earlier this week. There are only a handful of people in this world that can legitimately say they were a president of Harvard University. So in losing the title of no longer president of Harvard, let me start putting a little Thurston Howell the third onto that. And if you're old enough to know that reference, you're cool enough to be my friend. Is a Harvard man. Losing the title of president of Harvard is a pretty big deal. But as TBA 369 points out, Claudine Gay is still on faculty at Harvard. Claudine Gay is still making close to $900,000 a year. What real-world consequences has she suffered because of this related to her plagiarism? Yes, she's lost her title as president of Harvard, and past that, what? Anybody? Yeah, she got to keep her salary as president. So and I'm not trying to be black pill about this. I'm really not. It's just like, okay, she's out. Your point? And then let's talk about another aspect of it. And you know, the folks over on Rumble have been blowing this up, and I absolutely agree. You know, diversity, equity, and inclusion hire. Now, don't get me wrong. It's Harvard's decision about who they hire for the presidency. I get it. But this was the best person for the job? Now, granted, at the time, you could make the argument Harvard's Board of Governors had no idea about the plagiarism. Okay, I'll give them a pass on that part of it. Okay, no problem. It's fine. But was this the best person you could hire? Or did you hire her because she's a woman and because she's African American? I'm sorry, it's a legitimate question. TBA says she was hired for her DEI status, not because she had earned her way to the president's box. Okay. All right. She carried the water for them, says WWG1. That's how she got the job. There is one thing out of all of this that I think has the potential to be a victory. And it's a long-term victory, and I think this is something that would be healthy for the academy, academics in general. And if this trend takes hold, this is going to be one of the best things that happen for universities ever. Well, maybe not ever, but in a good long time. Is that we're going to have people, there's a couple, three things I can think. One, we're going to have some people's scholarly work get scrutinized. Now, I'm not talking about going after people on a witch hunt. That's not what I'm talking about. But I think when universities are trying to make decisions about, hey, should this person be in this leadership position, people are going to get a certain level of scrutiny that they didn't get before because they're going to look at what happened up at Harvard, and they're going to go, I don't want to go through that crap. We better put this one through the ringer. So you got that going on. Another thing is the whole question about DEI as part of decisions about, should this person or that person be put into a position of leadership? If we get to the point where we're reversing that trend, that's going to be fantastic. Over on Rumble, TBA says Bill Ackman, who's on the Board of Governors, has pledged to scrutinize all of MIT's professors' scholarly. Okay, cool. Yeah, exposure is a very good thing, WWG. I agree with that completely. Completely. So, yeah, we'll see where it goes. That's a point I hadn't quite thought about. DEI is illegal according to EEOC rules, says TBA 369. That's a good point. Good point. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring this one up, although anybody old enough to remember when, I'm old enough to remember when Biden was accountable for plagiarism. But that was a while ago. So, you got that going on at Harvard. And then there's one other big story, and we'll transition to that here in just a second, but it's almost the top of the hour, so I may as well do my commercial. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome to Front Porch Brunch, which is our weekly gathering of people who want to talk about what's going on in the news. So we are on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we're on Twitter. Feel free to leave a comment. And if you feel so inclined, feel free to leave a super chat or a Rumble rant or what have you. But again, nobody do anything irresponsible. Love you guys. Absolutely love you guys, but don't do anything irresponsible. But as I've always said, the sound of coin clinking in the cup is never going to hurt my feelings. But, all right, the other big story of the week, and again, I'm kind of about this one. And I'm going to use a word, and I guarantee you, the minute I drop this word, everybody's going to be like, Epstein. Oh, my God. Yeah. For those of you not aware of what's going on, Jeffrey Epstein, there are documents related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. And a judge unsealed them this week. And I really want to get your guys' take on this one. I really do. Because I've got some thoughts about this. And again, I hope I'm not blackpilling for no reason here. I mean, So the judge unseals a significant number of documents in the court case related to the late Jeffrey Epstein and Epstein Island and everything else. And everybody, let me back this up because that's going to make it sound worse than what it is. A significant number of people started going 7 kinds of crazy digging through these documents. And I get the curiosity, I get the desire to know, because that is a whole rat's nest of activity that needs to be brought to the full light of day. Now, when I say that, I don't mean, going into the gross, sordid details of what happened to these young girls who Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell abused. Okay, I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. But when I say things need to get there's a rat's nest of activity that needs to see the full light of day, I'm talking about who's involved, what did they do, what are they guilty of, and do we have the ability to punish them appropriately for it? So people have been digging through these names, and for example, Bill Clinton's name is mentioned quite prominently. So much so, in fact, and I did not pull it up, although I should have now that I think about it. Bill Clinton went so far as to put out a video talking about how his name would soon be released as part of the Epstein document drop. And I thought, whoo, he's already doing damage control on this. We don't even know what the documents say yet. I went, that's pretty incredible. But, you got Bill Clinton's name out there. You've got Prince Andrew of the royal family's name is out there. Alan Dershowitz's name is out there. You got a whole bunch of people, okay? And again, I understand the curiosity. I understand the desire to finally figure out what the hell happened. Who's involved? What did they do? And so on. However, I would like to respectfully point out something. And if I'm wrong on this, because, there are some people who follow this issue. They're like a bloodhound when it comes to this thing. Any piece of news drops about there, all over it. So if I'm wrong about this, y'all stop me. Okay, we have a list of names of people who were associated with Jeffrey Epstein. Does that mean they're guilty of anything? No, don't get me wrong. Let me back this up. As far as I'm concerned, if some of these people associated with Epstein are guilty and proven guilty of some of the things of which that people think they actually did, forget prison. Just give them the death penalty. That's where I'm at on it. Forget them rotting away in a jail cell's too good for them. Give them the death penalty. Of course, I would. In some cases, I wouldn't mind giving the death penalty on a jaywalking charge, but that's just me. But in all seriousness, okay, what these individuals did to children, forget young girls, children, if they're proven guilty of it, they will have been proven guilty of one of the most reprehensible acts. I don't care what society you're in. It's horrible. Okay? So, yeah. To borrow a line from a Toby Keith song, find a tall time the long arm of the law, put a few more in the ground. Okay, as far as I'm concerned. Go right ahead. The state should exercise the death penalty as far as I'm concerned. But it's one thing to be guilty of something proven in a court of law. It's another thing for a list of names to come out and go, oh, he was associated with Jeffrey Epstein. And this proves what exactly? Now, again, if those documents contain more than I'm realizing, point out to me. I mean, I'm happy to take a look at it. But kind of like this whole Claudine Gay thing, I'm not necessarily, this one's not burning in my soul. It's like, I'm going to, okay, we have a list of names. What I want to see, well, when I say see, what I want to find out is, okay, what did these individuals do? Did they do anything? Or were they just associates in this guy's orbit? Which, to go over to Rumble real quick. WWG1 says Clinton was number 36. That's true. Worldwide blackmail operation. We'll get to that in a sec because I got an article about this. Klaus Schwab said we've penetrated cabinets of the world's nation's governments. Blackmail is a good way to controlling people in legislature. That's very true. Gypsy says I went down the Epstein rabbit hole for 3 years. I'm bored with it, but others are waking up. That's true. That's true. Very true. It is a list of names we don't see and never will. That's a very distinct possibility, Gypsy. I agree with that. But there is one aspect of this, and some of this has been alluded to by our friends over there on Rumble, and I just want to, and this was out in the UK Daily Mail, and I thought this was really interesting. Take a look at this. FBI is demanded to release hundreds of missing Jeffrey Epstein documents, including tapes, CDs, passports, and pictures raided from his $51 million New York City townhouse amid suspicions that pedo was linked to the Mossad. Whoa. And this has been rumored for a long time, okay? So I'm not necessarily dropping anything, earth-shatteringly new here, but I do find one thing about this interesting. Let me get into this article. It's written by Beth Ann Sexton for dailymail.com. FBI is facing fresh calls to release hundreds of, quote, missing pieces of evidence raided from Jeffrey Epstein's $51 million New York townhouse following the release of a new list of his associates. Among the items said to be missing are tapes, CDs, passports, and pictures all located inside of a safe within the property under a siege of his home on July 2019, shortly after Epstein was arrested. It comes as speculation continues to swirl that Epstein was working as an agent for Israeli intelligence agency Mossad prior to his suicide while awaiting trial for child sex offenses. FBI agent Kelly McGuire previously testified the agency broke open a safe at his home in July 2019 to reveal the cache of evidence, along with, quote, loose diamonds and large amounts of U.S. currency. Speaking at the sex trafficking trial of Epstein's Madam Ghislaine Maxwell, she told the court the agents only photographed the contents as they did not have a warrant for their removal. Now, here's one part of this I don't understand. And Gypsy, if you've got information about this, feel free to drop it in chat. But there's one part of that I don't understand. If they raided his home in New York City, would they not have had to have a warrant? And if that's the case, my question is, well, if you had a warrant, why couldn't you take the contents of what you found in the safe? I'm just asking, again, just curious to know. We'll go back to the article real quick. Okay, here's pictures of the contents, or some of them. Ooh, some of that stuff looks pretty significant. Hang on. Okay, here we go. When the agency returned to seize the evidence on July 11th, it had vanished, according to McGuire, who claimed it was subsequently returned in 2 suitcases by Richard Kahn, Epstein's former lawyer and executor of his estate. She could not confirm if the content of the CDs was the same ones photographed, but said all items had been accounted for. Okay. That's interesting. The agency alluded to the contents of the safe in its application to a judge to deny Epstein's bail. Boxes of CDs and hard drives were also discovered in several rooms in Epstein's Upper East Side, including in a massage room. Ugh. Sorry. So, and again, what I'm dropping here isn't necessarily earth-shatteringly new to anybody. If you guys have probably followed this story a whole lot better than I have. But this strikes me odd. And again, I asked the question, and again, some of you guys are like really good on this story, so you probably know more details than I do. If the FBI raided his townhouse in New York City, in order to be able to raid the place, they would have had to have a warrant. Well, if you had a warrant to raid the place, did the warrant not include language that would have allowed you to take contents? Just saying. But the article, the headline of the article is a legitimate, absolutely legitimate question. Was Jeffrey Epstein, working for somebody? Because let's be honest about it. I mean, regardless of how all this shakes out, this is probably the biggest honeypot operation in the history of the world. And let's be honest, blackmail is probably one of the most powerful incentives to get somebody to do something for you. TBA says over on Rumble, sounds like Epstein did a lot of videotaping. Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah. There are some people that are on God's earth that when they pass from this world, you're glad they're gone. Jeffrey Epstein's one of them. Hate to say that, but I do. So, but yeah, I'm kind of black-pilled about the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. Now, again, if these documents start turning up other pieces of information that we didn't know before, and we start getting closer to the truth of what happened, that's great. But I think Gypsy had a very valid point. We'll never know exactly what was on those tapes. Didn't Megyn Kelly say a couple of days ago that we might hear? Oh, did not know that. Interesting. TBA also says, I think eventually most of our information will be released, just so the people can see how infiltrated our government and others are. Could be. So, all right, well, let's slip down to a couple of HodgePodge Stew items. Now, if you're here for the first time, or you're watching this live stream for the first time, there is a section of the show I try to put in. Oh, okay, wait a minute. Before I get there, hang on. Joe brings up a very valid point. Apparently, the warrant was to search but not seize. Possible. That's possible. Again, don't know what the warrant looked like, but I mean, my first reaction is, you got a warrant to go into the place. Do you not have a warrant to seize content? It's just me. Okay. All right, now, going on, WWG1 says, what ingredients are in a HodgePodge stew? I'm so glad you asked that question. For the purposes of Front Porch Brunch, HodgePodge Stew are those stories that either they're interesting for one reason or another. It might be that they're funny. It might be that they're quirky. It might be that they are important, but not necessarily above the fold, to borrow an old newspaper term. It might be any number of things. And we I try to throw a few of these in. Near the end of the show to kind of, cleanse the palate, lighten the mood, what have you. So let me see what I got pulled up over here. Give me 1 second. Oh, yeah. Did you guys hear about this judge out in Nevada? I got to show that this blew my mind. Now, to set this up for you, there was a gentleman convicted on multiple occasions of different crimes, and he was in court to receive sentence for something that he had been found guilty of. Okay. And this guy did something I'm not saying I've never seen it done, but man, the athleticism that he would have had to do this was remarkable. So watch this. This is from Clark County, Nevada. Check this out. Okay, this guy did a Superman, flew at the judge. I mean, can we get him signed up for an Olympic track team or something? I mean, now don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to make light of this, but I mean, this guy just jumped the dais, jumped over the bench, grabbed. Now the judge, fortunately, the judge was not severely injured, did suffer some injuries, but I'm gonna pull that up again because that just blew my mind. Watch this. This is just mind-boggling to me. Check this out. Holy cow. TBA says that he nearly ripped the forehead off the bailiff. Yeah. Now that part is absolutely scary. But I'm sitting here going, what in the world? Unbelievable. Just, Joe says that guy might be the psycho. Yeah. WWG1 over on Rumble says he was too used to being released. It took him by surprise. Yeah, in all seriousness, laying aside my joking about this and jokes that other people have made, that was extraordinarily dangerous what happened to her, to the bailiffs, etc. And I can't even begin to imagine what it was like from their side of it. But that one was just mind-blowing to me. Absolutely mind-blowing. So let's shift gears. Another story that I found interesting. By the way, just out of curiosity, and if you don't want to answer this question, that's fine. Is there anybody in chat, either on the YouTube or on the Rumble side, that lives close to Chicago or you used to live in Chicago? If so, drop an F in chat. I want to see who you are. I know Ruben used to hail from the Windy City, but if you used to live in Chicago or you're currently living in Chicago or the suburbs or whatever, drop an F in chat because I want. Yeah, okay. So Ruben is a. Yeah, okay. Anybody else outside of Ruben? TBA says Chicago, what a hellhole. You ain't wrong about that. So the current mayor of Chicago, one Mr. Brandon Johnson, and by the way, hang on a second, I just remembered somebody that I want to reach out to for an interview about the Windy City. And this guy, if he's willing to come on, he would be a great guest. So thank you. Well, okay. So the current mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, and for those of you not following this story, Chicago, much like New York City, is becoming ground zero for the illegal immigration crisis in this country. The governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, is taking these mayors at their word. They've said for years they want their cities to be sanctuary cities where migrants and illegal immigrants can come to. Well, Greg Abbott is loading them up in buses and just sending them on up the road. Well, now it's reaching the point where Chicago can't handle it. Now, Chicago's just like every other city in America, most of them anyway, where years and years and years of liberal economic and social policy is now coming back to haunt them. Businesses are leaving in droves. Residents are leaving in droves. And these cities are starting to become very difficult to live in at a minimum, or very dangerous to live in at the maximum. So Brandon Johnson, the current mayor of Chicago, decides to offer his thoughts about the matter. And I want to play this for you. This runs about 50 seconds. And then I'm going to wind up making some comments about this. So that'll set this up. So folks, do me a favor. Let me get back to my settings here real quick. There we go. All right. Take a listen to this. Oh, wait a minute. Let me make sure about something here. Are we? Yep. Okay, we're good.
The technical support that we receive from the federal government, we appreciate that. Work authorization to put people on the pathway to sustainability, I certainly appreciate that. And without real significant investment from our federal government, it won't just be the city of Chicago that won't be able to maintain this mission. It's the entire country that is now at stake. But in no way what the state of Texas is doing is helping the cause. As much as we recognize that there are challenges, significant challenges at the border, and we do need real substantive immigration reform and policies that allow us to have a structure and a pathway to citizenship. But again, sending buses all over the state of Illinois and all over the country is reckless and quite frankly is dangerous. The technical support.
Okay. So that is his honor, the mayor. I've got some thoughts about this, and I'm dying to hear what you guys think. I really am. So drop your comments in chat. Let's get into this. Brandon Johnson, much like a lot of mayors in this country who are mostly Democrats running Democrat-controlled cities, to me is trying to have it both ways. In that, okay, we're a sanctuary city. Let's have people come to our city. Then when they get them, they're like, oh, wait a minute. We didn't plan for all that. Hey, we need help. We need some coordinated response from the federal government here. You guys got to help us out. Brandon, I've got a much better policy prescription for you. Go to Joe Biden and start yelling, shut down the border! Because you cannot have it both ways. You can't sit there on the one hand and say, hey, we want to be a sanctuary city. We want to get as many people here to come here to Chicago as possible. And then on the one hand say, let somebody else pay for it. No. It's about time you grow a set and you call out Joe Biden. Your buddy Eric Adams over in New York City, he tried to do that, but he got a raid from the FBI. So I'm not saying that's not without risk to you politically, but I'm just saying you guys are going about this the wrong way. You don't like the fact that your city is having to pay for housing, education, health care, everything else for all these illegal immigrants, but you won't do the one commonsensical thing that would stop your problem, and that is agree with Greg Abbott, who right now you're mad at because he's actually proving the point about you guys being hypocrites on immigration. Agreeing with Greg Abbott and saying, shut down the border. Shut it down. Now, in part, I know why you're doing this. Hey, it's more Democrats' votes for you guys. Oh, yeah, it's cynical of me to say, but it's very, very true. You want the votes. You just want somebody else to pay for it. Well, no, Brandon, Mr. Mayor, Your Honor. You need to stand up, look Joe Biden in the eye and say, shut it down. Same thing to Mayorkas, same thing to everybody else. Shut it down. Look, lay aside politics here, okay? Lay aside the fact you're a Democrat and lay aside the fact that I'm an independent, all right? You can't keep doing this. Chicago, just like New York City, LA, all these major metropolitan areas in this country cannot continue to sustain this. You're getting thousands and hundreds of thousands of people coming into your city every month. They don't have jobs. They don't have housing. You're paying for food. You're paying for housing. You're paying for medical care. You're paying for education. You're paying for everything else. You cannot keep doing this. So you've got a choice. You can either stand with Greg Abbott and others saying shut down the border, or you guys can pay for it. Not the federal government, not everybody else in the country, by the way. You can pay for it. Either you pay for it and you let them keep coming to your city, or you stand up and say, we love you, we'll do what we can for you while you're here, but shut down the border. Shut it down. This is madness. New York City is being buried alive in this. Chicago is being buried alive in this. And as opposed to saying, hey, you got to get this border under control, you're saying, oh, no, we need better coordination with the federal government. No, you don't need coordination with the federal government. You need the federal government to do what it's constitutionally required to do, and that is secure the border against invasion. That's what you need. Mealy-mouthed, linguini-spined twit. Gypsy says over on Rumble, Brandon is a hired goon. He says what's written for him. Yeah. Also, she says, buses full of immigrants swarmed into downtown Detroit between Christmas and New Year's. Saw it with my own eyes. Jeez. Yeah, they want this invasion. I agree with that, TBA. They want this invasion. And hello, Professor. Good to have you here this morning, sir. I cannot wait to live stream with you on the 15th, the Iowa caucus. That's going to be a load of fun. Load of fun. So glad to have you here, sir. So, yeah, you've got Democrat mayors across this country that are trying to have it both ways. And my advice to you guys is real simple. Grow a spine. Or do the right thing. You want all these immigrants coming into your city? That's fine. You pay for it. But don't go crying to everybody else and ask us to pay for the policy prescription that you guys have been wanting for years. You're getting what you asked for, and you're getting everything that goes with it. But you don't like suffering the consequences of your decision, so you're going to try and get everybody else to get you off the hook. Baby. No. No. You brought this on yourself. You sowed to the wind, now you reap the whirlwind, baby. Fair point. It's not an incursion if invited, though it is an insurrection. Fair point. Oh, what else do we have in the stew? What else? Let's see. Oh. Update. I don't know how much you guys have been paying attention to this, but this is going to have the potential to affect definitely Europe, quite possibly the U.S. the further this thing goes along, and not just in a commercial sort of way anyway. The Red Sea. You guys heard about this one? For those of you not aware, to go from the east and to get to the Mediterranean, there is a way to do it without having to go around Africa. You can go through the Red Sea to the Straits of Suez, to the Suez Canal, and then out into the Mediterranean. So that makes the Red Sea a major commercial waterway that boats and cargo containers, etc., have been going through now for decades. Okay. Well, with everything going on in Gaza as it relates to Israel and Hamas, the Red Sea is now starting to become very dangerous. And the reason for that is you have Houthi rebels in Yemen, who are backed by Iran, by the way, who are firing on commercial tankers. And it's getting pretty dangerous. I saw this story and I wanted to bring it to your attention just so you have this one on your radar. Take a look at this. Houthi drone boat detonates in Red Sea a day after U.S. warning. This was this would have been Thursday. A Houthi drone boat packed with explosives detonated in the Red Sea on Thursday, but failed to cause any damage or casualties, the U.S. Navy said, as the Yemen-based group continued its attacks in defiance of international calls to stop. Oh, yeah, I'm sure that's going to work out. And this is from Reuters. Articles written by a gentleman named Phil Stewart. The latest attack came one day after 12 countries, including the U.S., Britain, and Japan, issued a joint statement cautioning the Houthis of unspecified consequences unless it halts its attacks in what one U.S. official on Wednesday suggested was a final warning. The Iran-aligned Houthis, who control much of Yemen, have launched wave after wave of exploding drones and missiles at commercial vessels since November 19th. Trying to inflict a cost in what they say is a protest against Israel's military operations in Gaza. The Houthi campaign has been extraordinarily disruptive to international shipping, causing some companies to suspend transit through the Red Sea and instead take the much longer, costlier journey around Africa. And that's part of the reason why they're going through the Red Sea is cost. It's something I mentioned mentioned going around Africa. Vice Admiral Brad Cooper, who leads U.S. naval forces into the Middle East, told reporters on Thursday that the Houthi exploding boat drove out about 50 miles into the Red Sea and then detonated in dense shipping lanes. Quote, "It came within a couple of miles of ships operating in the area, merchant ships and U.S. Navy ships, and we all watched it as it exploded," Cooper told reporters, adding the target of the attack was not clear. This is getting pretty scary. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why we need to try and find some way to get a ceasefire going in Gaza and Hamas. Now, before y'all say anything, oh, you're going soft on... No, hang on. I am all for peace, okay? And I'm also all for the defense, one nation's right to defend against another. I think the difference between myself and other people, particularly Democrats right now who are wanting a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war, is this. They want a ceasefire regardless of whether there's a long-term cessation of violence and a long-term solution that brings it about more peacefully. I want a ceasefire when one side is good and ready and says, okay, we've accomplished our military objectives here. Let's bring this to a conclusion. Translation, I'm not saying the Israelis are perfect, but they were the ones who were attacked. And my point is this. They shouldn't cease fire until they've accomplished their military goals, which means stopping Hamas from doing what they did to them and making sure they can't do it again for a good long time. But I want a ceasefire. Okay, but in a different way than what Democrats do, or for different reasons, like maybe it's a better way of saying it. But we need to get this ceasefire because this has the potential not just commercially to affect the West, but militarily. If God forbid, and I do mean God forbid, these Houthi rebels actually inflict damage on a U.S. ship, what does that mean for the potential of conflict between the U.S. and Iran? Because let's be honest, everybody knows it. The Houthis are being backed by Iran. Okay? What does this mean for a potential military conflict or a spreading out of the conflict between Israel and other Muslim states in the Middle East. I'm not trying to, bring it in for a landing on a very negative note, but it definitely gives you pause for concern, or at least I think it should. But you got that going on in the world right now. So it's about 12:30, and that's pretty much everything that I've got for Front Porch Brunch. And for those of you maybe that are, TBA says neocons and warhawks want war. Ain't that the truth? Oh, okay, fair point, WWG. He says, I don't think you want a ceasefire, you want peace, two different things. Agreed. I'll agree with you there. Maybe I didn't say it as well as I should have, but that's my idea of the only reason for a ceasefire is if one side has accomplished militarily what they want, and they're like, okay, let's wind this down. But yeah, you're right. Maybe peace is a better way of saying it. Then again, with that region of the world, I don't know if you're ever going to get peace unless certain other things happen. But yeah, that's everything that I've got for Front Porch Brunch. So again, I'm going to do some commercials real quick, and then we're going to get out of here. Let me pull up my advertisements. Please join me this coming Tuesday when we bring Professor Tim Hagel from University of Iowa on. We're going to be talking about the Iowa caucus and getting into the nuts and bolts of how it works, what it means, what's going to happen this year, what he thinks is going to happen this year, etc., and so on. Wednesday night, I'm going to be doing a live stream covering Trump's interview with Bret Baier and Martha MacCallum of Fox News. On Thursday, I'm going to be interviewing, or not interviewing is not the right word, having a conversation with the ever-gracious and wonderful Carrie Smith. So both of those, Tuesday and Thursday night, are at 7:30 Eastern. And as usual, we'll be on YouTube, we'll be on Rumble, we'll be on Twitter. So tell your friends. Both of these are going to be fun. I'm looking forward to both of them. I am definitely looking forward to having Carrie on the channel. She's probably one of my absolutely favorite people in all social media, so I can't wait to talk to her. And although we do not have a thumbnail set up for it yet, mark your calendars. Monday, January 15th, myself, Ruben Christopher Haynes, Christian Watson, maybe a couple other people, don't know yet, but we are going to be covering the Iowa caucus, watching the results come in, giving some commentary around it, giving our opinion about where things stand in the election, etc., and so on. So please mark that on your calendar, and then I'll be doing a live stream. Ruben and I will be doing a live stream. Christian, if you want in on this, that's cool. I mean, I hadn't asked you yet, but I didn't know what your schedule was. But at a minimum, Ruben and I are going to be doing a live stream the day after the Iowa caucus, time to be determined, and talking about the results, what it means going forward. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, Leanne, I agree with you. This is going to be a very interesting Iowa caucus for so many different reasons. So please spread the word. Also, again, if you could help me out, I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube by March the 3rd, which is the anniversary day of the channel. So spread the word. And I love you guys for everything that you have done, continue to do, etc. So, yeah. So, anyway, we're going to wrap it up. And for the first time this year, I get to give you the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall. Remember when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money. We'll see you in 2024.